Dolls. The perfect gift for your loving daughter. The gift that you could hold dear. Or the... Oh. 2 days earlier, I was heading home from work, had to gain a few bucks, and a step closer to success. I wanted to celebrate with my family, my wife Joy, and my daughter Sissy, who's 3 years old. Also, it's Sissy's birthday today, so I went to Walmart and bought a gift for her. Since she likes dolls, I decided to get her one. I was at the toy section. There was a lot of dolls. But one doll that took my attention, its name was Baby Alive. The sales clerk said that it walks and talks. I had the perfect amount of money for it, so I bought it. I was on my way home until I heard a very faint whisper. The whisper scares me out of my flesh and gives me uneasiness. The tone of the whisper was rusted and dark. I thought it was the window. I drove my car with my windows open, so I just ignored it. But I still have that uneasy feeling of something was watching me. I was home. Happily, my little baby ran into me. "Papa," she said, "I have a perfect present for your birthday." "What is it, Papa?" Then I brought out the gift box. Surprise! She opened it with joy, then finally revealing the doll. "Papa, thank you very much," she said with a happy voice. "So you got your raise?" my wife told me. "Yeah, pretty much. The raise isn't bad," I said. So my daughter played for hours with the doll. She seems to enjoy it. She even had a little tea party type of playing that with the doll. But something's been bugging me. Whenever I looked at the doll's head turned to look at me while my daughter wasn't paying attention. I don't know, it must be a loose bolt in the doll's neck. It must be. I just shrugged it off, but the stare of the doll scares me. I'm definitely having nightmares tonight. "Okay, darling, you should get to bed. It's getting late, and kids don't sleep late." "But Papa, I want to play more." She was very sad, but I have to make her sleep. "Get to bed, darling. I'll get you another doll if you want." "Yay! Okay, Papa." She immediately went to her room with her doll. "Good night, sweetie. Don't let the bed bugs bite." "Good night, Papa." Then suddenly, a quiet whisper said, "Good night, Daddy," with the same tone I heard from the whisper earlier. I shivered in fear. I looked around to see if anyone was there. The results are nothing. The room suddenly got cold. Everything got dark, although I haven't even turned off the light. The light started to flicker. The second time it flickered, I saw the doll, standing, staring at me with those eyes. It made me very uncomfortable until the doll's eyes turned black and started crying blood. I screamed at the top of my lungs, "What is happening?" The lights flickered again. This time, I saw the doll holding a knife in her right hand, and my baby's head. At that moment, I thought my sanity snapped. I fell unconscious on the floor. Then I woke up. I looked at my watch. It was only 5 minutes after that happened. Then I remembered, "Sissy!" I ran to her bed and saw her sleeping. I sighed with relief. It must have been delusion, since I had a hard day today. I closed the door and went into my room. "So, did she enjoy your new doll?" my wife said. "Yeah, she loved it. But..." "What is it, darling?" Actually, never mind. Let's talk about this tomorrow. My wife looked at me with a worried expression and said, "Are you sure, Luke? You're sweating." "Yes, I am sure. Good night." I gave her a kiss on the forehead and slept. That was a very, very bad idea. The dream I had still haunts me until now. I saw my daughter running around. "Catch me, Papa, catch me! I'm coming, baby!" We chased like nothing's gonna break our happiness. "Okay, baby. I'm tired. We should stop." Then I saw that doll. The doll has black, shiny eyes and crying blood. Just like what I saw in my delusion. Her arms were bleeding and was pulling my daughter. "Papa, help me!" I panicked, but I can't move. Fear was holding me back. I started to laugh. A short laugh. Then I laughed uncontrollably. I'm losing my sanity right here. Then I heard my daughter scream. It snapped me back to reality. I reached to her arm and held it tight. "Hold me, baby! Don't let go! Papa!" Then suddenly, her arm rips off. My daughter wailed in pain. I just stared at my daughter's arm, which I'm holding in my right hand. Then stared at the doll, eating my daughter. The doll said with that voice again. This time, it has a demonic tone. "Never leave me alone. Play with me." After that, I woke up in my sleep, drenched in cold sweat. "Darling!" shouted my wife. "What's wrong?" It took me time to answer back. "Oh, it's nothing serious, darling. Just a small nightmare." "You never had nightmares before. What is it?" Then I sighed. "It's that doll." Then my wife chuckled. "Come on, you're afraid of a doll?" "No! But the doll is different. It's like a living monster." My wife kissed me and said, "Darling, you're just imagining things. Not that you're crazy, but you're just not used to it. Come here, you." She hugged me. "Thanks, darling. A man like me? Darn, it's my first time to get scared." "Shh, shh, 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 shh. It's okay. Let's go back to sleep." Then she took the blanket. I just realized that it was 3 a.m. I've heard enough stories. When you wake up at 3 a.m., there's someone staring at you, or the devil's out, or whatever. Those aren't true anyways. I went back to sleep. Morning, I went to work. I was still sleepy because I didn't sleep well last night. Was that dream true? What does it mean? Ugh! I don't want to think about it anymore. I didn't notice that I was sleeping. "Wake up, you lazy bastard!" shouted my boss. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Was I sleeping? "Get to work if you don't want your raise to be decreased." Okay, sir. I'm really sorry again, sir. I can't believe it. It's my first time to get drowsy. Oh, let's all get back to work. I did my usual routine. Work, eat, rest, work, go home. As soon as I reached my house, something felt wrong. I noticed that our lawn wasn't mowed. Impossible. I remember mowing it this morning. I then walked towards the door. As I held the doorknob, it was cold as ice. Then suddenly, something banged the window. I saw my wife's head, bleeding. Her skull was broken open. Instantly, I panicked and opened the door. As I opened the door, everything was normal. My daughter was playing with that doll again. My wife is at the kitchen cooking. My daughter noticed me and ran at me with a smile. "Welcome home, Papa." She tackled me without knowing. Yeah, I'm home. I managed to smile to make sure my daughter doesn't worry about me, but my wife saw that I was making a fake smile. I mouthed a talk later. I then took a look at the doll to see it smiling. Then I stared at its eyes. I knew what it's trying to say. You are dead. I shrugged it off, thinking that I must be very tired to think such things like predicting what a doll could say. But when I looked at it again, this time, the doll said it. My daughter and wife didn't notice it, so I found it strange. Why? We ate like we always do, but whenever I turn to look at the doll, it keeps disturbing me until I lose my appetite. I'm going to bed. This early? My wife said. I had a rough day. I went to our room and slammed my body to the bed. Sweet dreams. That voice again. It's the doll! I turned around to see the doll at my doorstep, staring at me with a knife. It lunged at me to stab me. Being an expert at fighting back bullies, I countered the attack and stabbed the doll. What's happening up there? My wife called out. She and my daughter went up. As I opened the door, I yelled at them to stand back. It was too late. The doll attacked my daughter and my wife. They were both defenseless. My wife protected my daughter and she was stabbed in the process. My daughter ran downstairs to call the police, while I, on the other hand, just lay on the floor, watching the doll brutally murder my wife. The doll chopped my wife's head off, opened the skull and ate her brains, then sliced my wife's stomach open, pulling off all the intestines. I snapped back to reality and kicked the doll. I then ran downstairs to find my daughter. I found her in the basement, hiding from the doll. When I opened the cabinet, I saw her crying. Then I looked at her eyes. It was full of fear and pain. I then saw that she was also bleeding. Papa, I'm scared. I sat at her side to comfort her and tended to the wound. We stayed at the cabinet until it's safe. Boy, were we wrong. The doll found her way to the basement and slammed the door open. My daughter screamed and the doll stabbed in her throat, making a sound that sounded like a whistle. This time, I was alert. I took the doll by its neck and wrestled it to the ground. It then suddenly grew to life size. We found each other, trying to find each other's weaknesses, and tried to kill each other. It stabbed and hacked and slashed, hitting me mostly. As the battle progressed, I then found out that the doll was mimicking my movements. I made a gesture to stab my head. The doll did the same thing, thus ending its life. I then dropped to the floor, crying, but laughing. Soon, after the cops came by and saw my wife and my daughter's dead corpse, they also saw me and brought me to a psychologist because they saw me laughing so hard, harder than I should have been in that current situation. When I finally cooled down, I told the police my story. They believed all the details except one. The doll can't be real. They told me it must be a person they brought in, but I said, no, it's real. I saw it in front of my very own eyes. Later on, I was sent to a psychologist and I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I couldn't believe it, but it was true. All this doll nonsense, they were nothing but delusions and hallucinations. I was the one. I was the one who murdered my own dear family. I was the one who murdered my wife brutally. I was the one who killed my own daughter. I was the one responsible! The cops felt sorry about me, and instead of bringing me to prison, they brought me to a mental asylum and stayed there for 3 months. They told me I was laughing all day long, and I was insane before. Now, I'm sane once again. I prepared the funeral for my daughter and for my wife. I shed a lot of tears on the funeral. Many people gave me their condolences, which wasn't helping at all. I then went home with a car. As soon as I head home, I saw the doll at the doorway. Smiling at me, it said, "Welcome home, Papa." I smiled. I smiled like a maniac would. I took the doll and went to the kitchen and brought out a knife. I went outside with the doll in my left arm and the knife in my right hand.
Breaking news. A family was murdered brutally last night. The bodies were found around the table and were brutally deformed. They were all wearing formal attires, and a few days later, more crimes were reported with the same style of brutality. The curfew has been changed from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. Every time the police came, they would find a note scribbled in blood from the victim that said, "We will always play together. Join us. Let us have fun."